Crank up the volume and get ready for real-world bird hunting by listening to the Wingmen podcast by Eastman's. Now your host, Todd Helms.
Hey everybody, Todd Helms here with another edition of the Wingmen podcast from Eastman's. And I have Clay Hudnall with me today, and really excited to sit down and chat hunting with Clay and some things, and maybe talk calls and fall strategy and basically what we've got going on for the fall. Clay, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Good. Thanks for being on. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. What's it like down there right now? Tell it. Where are you exactly? I can't remember.
So we are in the town of Westport, and Westport is a river town. So we're about 35 miles northeast. Well, it's weird the way the river runs. I say northeast of Louisville. We're probably a little more east, but there's some north in there, so maybe east northeast. So I don't know if anybody's watching the news, but Louisville's in some bad shape right now.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, it hasn't been good. Not that I really want to talk about it, but there's a lot going on down there, and we're on the outskirts, so we're about 30 to 35 minutes away from it. But the call shop is literally 500 yards from the boat ramp. Me and my brother both live on the river, so we're really fortunate. We can literally walk to work if we want to, and we get to wake up and see the river every day, so we're pretty blessed.
No, that is cool. That is really, really cool. Yeah. So when you talk about the call shop, refresh everybody's memory. What call shop we talking about?
Talking about field-proven calls. So me or myself and my brother own field-proven calls, and we're going on we're at our 10th year this year. Goodness gracious, it's been that long. Heck yeah. 10 years.
Good for you guys. Good for you.
Yeah.
How did you two decide to start all that? I mean, obviously, you and your brother both have been around in the industry for quite a while.
Yes, sir.
I remember first seeing you guys pop up back with Fred Zink back in the day. That was kind of where I started seeing both of you around on some of those videos and different things. And like I said, then all of a sudden there's this field-proven call lineup, and I've had the good fortune to blow a couple of those, and I've been really impressed with everything I've gotten my hands on.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, we worked for Zink Calls for, I think, right around 8 years. And Fred and Don, it was a great place to work, and it was just one of those after time. I mean, we've been away from home since we left for college, so it's not to go into detail, but things change. Maybe some chat of some stuff that probably wasn't promised. Missing home. Kind of want to get back to being at home, and to be honest, call making is really all we really know. We started with Zink Calls from the ground level. Like Field was the first full-time employee, and I was the second. And good thing for Fred, he trusted us, and between Field, myself, and Don, we kind of helped run Zink Calls, so we knew the ins and outs of it. And Freddie was doing a lot with Avery. That's when Avery kicked off, and the decoys were coming out, and it kept Fred extremely busy with that. So he entrusted us to take care of the call company. So, I mean, we learned hands-on. We dealt with all the buyers. So, not saying it was easy for Field Proven to start, but when we got home, we decided, man, this is all we know. All we know is how to make calls. So let's take on what calls that we did with Freddie and maybe tweak some of the stuff that we like in a call. And then the buyers, kind of knew us. So it was entrusted, hey, let's give these guys a shot. Because I truly think today, if you were to go and be like, say, call me John Doe. I want to start a call company. To get meetings with those dealers, there's a line a mile long to get in there. And it just doesn't happen. And I think there's a lot of guys that do make stuff, don't get into the retail stuff because it's so hard.
Right.
We were given a chance, and it's progressed every year. So we're really fortunate for that. We're really fortunate, for Zink Calls showing us the ins and outs and us being a part of that. So we did a lot for them, and they did a lot for us. So hopefully it was a fair trade-off.
Yeah. No, it's funny how in talking with different people in the industry, just on the podcast and just even in the last few weeks and episodes. Oh, hold on. There you are. I pressed the wrong button. I had a notification pop up on the screen, and I went to shut it off, and I clicked on it instead. Anyway, so we're back. But no, I think you're absolutely right. You know, it's a tough thing to do, to get into it, and to have a foot in the door, like you said, really helps. You know, and you said something too that, you know, I've talked with a couple call manufacturers now on the podcast, and everybody says the same thing. They all had, you know, they liked who they were working with, or whether it was Fred Zink or whether it was Tim Grounds or whatever, but there was something that they liked in a call that they wanted to be able to do that they weren't able to do. And so now that they have their own processes, every call is a little bit different. Every call is a little unique. And man, in today's world of online marketing, they don't need to be in storefronts necessarily to do well.
Correct.
You know, there's companies out there that you'd never find in a Sportsman's Warehouse or a Shields or a Bass Pro or a Cabela's that are doing just fine with the online market space.
You're 100% right, man. And that's funny you bring that up, and that's why there's so many different calls out there. Every call, like everybody's got good calls. You can shoot ducks and geese with any call, but there's so many different styles. So what one style has may not fit you, but man, there's a list of call makers. That's why I like when we go to a show, our biggest thing is like if we're at an outdoor show. I got a lab wearing me out.
No, mine's at home. Otherwise, it'd be the same way.
Yeah. So we tell people let's say NWTF. That's a big show. When a guy comes there, our first words are, man, try everybody's stuff out. Find what fits you. Like, I'm not going to sell you something that you don't like. That's what I love about talking to customers, any type of retail store. You can see those guys blow that call. And we've done it enough where it takes just a couple notes. You can tell it's either too stiff, it's too light, what needs to be changed, and you can fix it and somewhat dial it into their style if it fits their style, where they walk away like, man, that's the greatest thing in the world. Where if he was to order it from me or order it from Bass Pro and say he blows super hard, well, we tune all our calls that go to dealers on a medium. Well, if he's overblowing it, man, I hate this call.
Right.
You can have it dialed into him where it's stiffened up. Oh, man, that's the best thing in the world. So we like that one-on-one interaction. That's why we do a lot of shows, just to meet our customers, talk to them, and get feedback on what they like and what they don't like.
What's your show schedule look like? I mean, that doesn't probably start for you guys until February.
Well, so normally we have like a lot of dealer shows in the summer, like that are involved with like calling contests and stuff like that. Everything's been shut down.
Right.
And so our next big one would be like Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
It kicks it off, and that's a 9-day show. And I forgot how many hundreds of thousands come through there.
It's a lot.
It's every day. They're talking about still having it. I don't know. I mean, I'm not getting into it. I don't know how they can, but I'm afraid there's going to be people not show up. And I mean, that's a decent expense for people that are going there not to have a good show. So I'm not for sure. It could change, but Harrisburg is going to be our first one, and then NWTF follows up, and then there's a list after that. So, so I'm not for sure. Some are canceling, some are not. So we'll see what happens after November, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's same boat. Not necessarily for Wingmen, but we do. You know, obviously with Eastman's, it's a big show season starting, you know, right after Christmas.
Yep.
And it runs right through until it's early summer for us. And obviously Wingmen, we're part. That's our parent company, so we're right there in the mix. You know, and dragged me to SHOT Show last year and do all that fun stuff. But yeah, I'm with you. Not to get into the weeds on it, but it's going to be interesting to see how all that breaks down.
It really is, because they've canceled. So the World Goose Calling Championship was canceled.
Yep.
Last week they canceled the World Duck. I mean, those have been going on, I think, 75 years or I don't know.
Long time.
And those are great, great events that call makers set up at, and you can talk to people. I'm curious on how these like outdoor shows, unless they're just trying to make every penny they can. I don't know. I don't see how it's going to work out.
Yeah, I don't either. And hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully we don't start a new trend of no shows.
Right.
But I think we'll see where it all ends up. But yeah. Well, get off the doom and gloom bandwagon for a minute, man. What's your fall look like?
And so we've just started talking about it. So me and Field have always been kind of like fly by the seat of our pants. Learned that. So I'm going back to our Zinc days. We learned that. So when we were filming and doing the DVD series for Zinc Calls, it's really hard to like set dates and be like, hey, I'm gonna be here this time, because it doesn't always work out. So we're always like sitting on go. Like if a guy calls and says, hey, I've got them, you need to be here, we have that ability to do that. Now we try to maybe set windows. So we always go to Nebraska, typically right between either right before Christmas or right after Christmas. And we kind of dial that in as it gets closer. But excluding that trip, we pretty much are sitting on go. Like I think it was last year or 2 years ago, because we're both Yeti ambassadors. Yeti said, and hey, we need you all in Oklahoma in 2 days. No problem. We're there.
Right.
It was a great trip. Ducks were there. We're able to do. So we have a lot of options, but we don't always go through with them just because of the way the hunting is.
I completely agree. That's been something that when I came on board here at Eastman's, being a big game company, everything's planned out. We're going to be here on these days and here on these days and here on these days. And I kind of had, let's see your hunt schedule. What's your hunt schedule look like? And I went, I don't really have one. And they're looking at me like, what do you mean? And I said, you can't plan waterfowl hunts the way you can plan big game hunts. You can't do it. And I'm glad you said that, because now I've got a little bit of ammunition in my next meeting.
It's really hard. I mean, especially depending on the location you're going. I mean, if you're waiting on a migratory bird, even if they don't have a huge local population, you're waiting on flight ducks or geese to get to a certain area. You can't. I mean, if I could pinpoint this river, I'd only hunt the good days, but I can't.
Right.
I go out there and get my tail kicked more often than we have great hunts. So
same thing here. Yep. Same thing here.
Day, I would do that, and then probably work a little more or do other things. But it's hard with waterfowl. You can't.
Yep. No, it is tough, and you got to be. If you're not going to be in a blind in the morning, you need to be in a pickup someplace. Scouting.
100%.
And yeah, and it was interesting. We don't have the eastern half of Wyoming opens this weekend, but where we are, we don't open till October.
Okay.
For ducks and geese, and I was getting pretty excited there because we had a bunch of teal show up.
Nice.
And I'm like, man, maybe they'll stay. But we always get a blizzard in September, and we got one, and they're gone. I went out my wife and I just had a baby boy. I told you that. You and I actually had to put this podcast on hold because of that. And I took her for a drive literally the night before we went into labor. We went duck scouting.
Nice.
Because she's like, I got to get out of the house. I'm going nuts. And I'm thinking, well, he's a couple days overdue. Maybe a bumpy road will get things moving,
100%.
So that's what we did. And I tell you what, the spots I was looking the week before were loaded with ducks.
Yeah.
We got that blizzard. They're gone.
And it's funny, those teal. So our teal season's in here, and they move with a stiff wind.
Yes, they do.
It was about 2 weeks prior, so I can kind of tell you if you can see. So I can look right out.
Oh, nice.
The river. So I was getting my son ready for school. It was about 2 weeks ago, and my wife goes, Clay, look at them ducks. And I look, and there was probably 100, 150, just a big old wad of teal. I'm like, that's interesting. Because normally we don't get them till the later half of teal season. Once it goes out, we're getting like what we see through here. I'm like, man, we still got a couple weeks. Well, we've had that cold snap here. Me and Phil been a couple times. We ain't seen the first teal. We haven't seen a goose. We haven't seen anything. So.
Well, that's rough. That is rough. But, that's the way it is. Like you said, it's the same thing here. The openers, like, do I go? It usually coincides with opening a rifle for elk.
Gotcha.
So it's like, do I go duck hunting or do I go elk hunting? I've got until the middle of January to hunt ducks. I only get on elk for a couple weeks.
See, I've never elk hunted.
You need to, man.
It's on my list to do. It really is.
Yeah, it's something. It's an addiction. It's like the guys around here in the office hate me saying this, but when you can get on them in the rut, especially archery season, it's like a turkey with antlers. An 800-pound. The similarities are there. Yeah. There's enough differences too that makes it. It's unique. It's its own thing, but. Yeah. When you start looking at behavior and the way they work and how vocal they are and how they respond to calling situations or don't respond to calls, man, it's like
oversized turkey.
It's weird. It's weird. Yep. But they got serious elk guys hate it when you say that, but it's true. It is true. So.
So how is the new baby? Everything going good?
Oh, thanks for asking, man. Yeah, he's awesome. Little man sleeps all night long. We're we're extremely blessed. This is our third one, and yeah, I finally got a little boy. I got two little girls that I wouldn't trade for the world, but I was rooting for a son this time, and it came through.
I get it, man. My first one was a boy. So Field has two boys, and my second was a little girl. So I get to have, I get to experience both. I feel like she's a little moodier as a baby than what my son was, but that could be the second child syndrome too. I don't think.
Sure.
I think she can play on the dog now. With Cam, don't touch the dog. There's germs. Like it's the first parent deal. So. Well, what's funny about our little girl, so from our family tree, my dad was trying to explain to me just what we have history of. Peyton is the first girl in like 176 years.
Wow.
So you're talking about, I said, well, talk about special. Because Dad, when we started having kids, Dad talked to us like we were dogs. Oh, Hudnall's only throw boys. And it was weird because he dead set on that. And then when Ash was pregnant and just the way she looked, and Dad goes, I think you're having a girl. And I'm like, what is wrong? What? That doesn't come out of your mouth. What happened to Hudnall throws boys? He says, I'm telling you, I bet it's a girl. And I'm like, and he called it. I mean, I would have never thought. I mean, just the way the history of boys have been down the line. But we've got one, and she's definitely special.
Yeah, no, my family's very similar. I don't think it was the same run that you guys had, but when my daughter was born, in my side of the family, my wife's family was girl dominated. So this is like the first grandson ever for them.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty special. But same deal, man. It was boy, and then we had a girl, and then my brother had a girl, and then I had another girl, and then he had another girl, and it's like. You just don't know how that's going to work, It's crazy.
100%, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. But, yeah, you get your kids out hunting with you?
So we've just started taking Cam. We've taken him on some dove hunts.
Cool.
So I don't want to push him. I don't want to force him to be around. I want him to ask and want to be a part of it. He's big into fishing. Like he's been fishing the last few years, just being on the boat. So I like doing a lot of crappie fishing in the spring.
Sure.
Not that I'm crazy at it, but me, always got to be doing something. So like when they move up on the banks and I can cast jig, like that's me. To run and like spider rig, it's not my style. Like
sure,
I need to be doing something. So I've got Cam the last couple of years of which, I don't know if you all crappie fish, but crappie want to hang out in every tree stump, and I feel like more time I'm unwrapping him. But I mean, it's the only way he's going to learn. And I remember Dad doing the same thing with me. So, but getting him casting, and he caught his first one last year on his own, threw it out, caught it. It was like a big deal. So I think.
How old is he?
He's just 5.5.
That's awesome.
He'll be 6 in January, and then my little girl is just 14 months.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
We're going to take him dove hunting this Sunday again. He likes picking them up, looking for them. So I think we're on the verge of. I think he's going to open up and want to start doing some more stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I think we started dragging mine around, man, weeks after they were born. They were going on antelope hunts, and it seems like, my wife's got a picture. It's not going to happen this year. She didn't draw a tag, but with my 2 girls, she's got pictures of holding an antelope buck with the baby strapped to her chest,
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's just what we do, and it's kind of.
So your wife's a big hunter?
Yeah, my wife loves to hunt, and it's kind of it's a family deal for us. So our girls are right from day one, they were in it. It was just like, you don't have to do this, but you're going to go along,
sure.
And one of the guys that I work with here in the office, he's got 4 kids, and like he said, he's got 1 boy and then 3 girls. He said, I don't care if any of them turn out to be hunters. I'd like that, obviously, but that's up to them. But he said, while they're in my house, they're going to participate in the North American model of conservation.
Yeah.
So they have an understanding of how this all works.
Sure.
And then when they get out and on their own, if they want to do it, great. If they don't want to do it, that's up to them. Yeah. But at least they were raised with it. They understand it. So they're educated about how, why we actually have wildlife in this country.
100%.
So
me, my wife, she's a big hunter too. And like she grew up mainly more like turkey and deer hunting from where she was from. There wasn't much waterfowl, but it's always kind of a joke now, like trying to divide up who's hunting when. Now that we have kids, like somebody's got to stay back. So like she loves the turkey hunt. I mean, I like turkey hunting, but like she loves turkey hunting. So she always gets opening weekend no matter what. Last year I started bow hunting first, or at least when it opened. Now this year she's kind of had a run, so we kind of traded off because of some waterfowl season. I always joke with her, I'm like, man, I'm going to work. She's like, you're not going to work. Well, yeah, I kind of am. I mean, we're using calls, but I kind of tease her. But when waterfowl comes, she understands like that. I get 60 days or 60 plus, and she understands it. Like she knew about it before we even got together. Same thing. She was watching us on some videos, so she knows that's part of the life. Like waterfowl is kind of a big deal, so I don't mind the go turkey hunt, because with my schedule, I have the ability. I could go during the week where sometimes, depending on how her schedule is, she can or cannot go. So if she can knock one out real quick and get over with, man, I'm all about it because I know she has that love for it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's for us out here. It has a lot to do with what we draw, as far as big game goes.
Gotcha.
Because our seasons are, well, I think they're probably pretty similar to what you guys have there, as far as our waterfowl seasons don't really get good, and you don't get serious about it until later in the year, and all the big game stuff comes first.
Gotcha.
You got September, October, and then November, where we've got some birds, and you'll get out and bang on them here and there.
Yeah.
But it's a big game focus those first 2.5 months, at least, and then that's closed and done and over with, and then it's on to ducks and geese and pheasants. A lot of the upland stuff. I know a lot of guys out here like to hunt upland in October.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going to go out. We're going to chase some sage grouse around this weekend. You guys are chasing doves. Our doves are gone, but we've sage grouse is open, so dog will get a little bit of work. But it's like a family deal. We'll pack a picnic, go out. You kind of know where they like to be, where they like to hang. We'll make a loop. Throw the kid. 2 girls can walk, and the little man will be in a backpack, and we'll go make a loop with the dog, and have a picnic and do that kind of thing. But if she can get those hunts in earlier, like the turkey, or if we can get some of her tags filled, then it's like I don't have to worry about it quite so much trying to get hunts filmed later in the year in November
Sure.
You know, like I said, obviously, if I get we filmed an opening day episode 2 years ago where we just happened to have a flooded part of a cornfield that had flooded.
Yeah.
And it was an irrigation issue. The irrigation drain tiles were all plugged and irrigation water stacked up, and it flooded this corn.
Wow.
Totally random.
Yeah.
And it just happened to coincide with opening day, our second split opener. So later in October for ducks, and we were covered up. I mean, it was amazing.
That's awesome.
That's a pretty rare deal for us
Right.
out here. It's usually going to be snow on the ground, and you hunt in Nebraska, it's the same time of year. It's the same type of stuff. You know, the colder and snowier, the better.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, so when you get to do that family stuff earlier in the year, man, I'm all about that. I love that stuff. You know.
So how old's your oldest girl? Like what's the you got?
She's 5.
Nice.
Yep, she's 5 years old. Same as yours.
Yep.
Just started kindergarten.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a trip, man. It really is.
It's a fun age, man, to see just how he's matured from 4 to 5. I feel like I'm kind of talking to like a teenager, like being able to just have he's pretty sharp, so we can have some pretty in-depth conversations. And I'm thinking, man, like you're pretty sharp for a little kid now. Hopefully he keeps that up. I think he gets that. He's actually really intelligent. So I'm pretty blessed. I think he gets that from his mother.
I was just gonna say, I know mine gets that from her mom, no doubt.
If he gains any street smarts, he'll get that from me for sure. But,
yeah. Mine knows how to blow a duck call, and she got that from me.
There you go. That's great, man.
We went for a ride the other night, and just to get out of the house, and ran across found this lone bull elk out in this alfalfa field south of town, and I said, you should get out and get in the ditch and do your cow call thing at him, see if he comes to you. You know, she's just squeaking at him with her mouth, you know. Yeah. And he didn't come, but he looked up. He took a couple steps in her direction. It was, like, Daddy, he's coming.
That's
but
great, man.
Yeah, you know, that calling aspect of things, I don't know. I'm sure it was the same for you. That calling animals fascinated me from about the time I was my kid's age or your son's age. It seemed like that calling. It seemed like I grabbed one of my dad's old calls, and I don't know. I think it was an Olt back in the one of the old ones, and it. I just started blowing it and messing with it, and going with Dad, and man. I remember the first time I actually called in a goose. It was like I was probably 8, 9 years old, and it was just me doing the calling. And this lone goose is out there flying around, and he comes in and like almost lands in the decoys, and that was it. I was hooked from day one. I don't know what was your experience with that.
So I agree. Calling has always been a major part of like. I would much rather call them in and let somebody else shoot them because I know I have fooled them. Like if you can fool them, like shooting them is just a bonus to me, but to get them, especially in a spot that they don't want to be, like to fool them in their own game is pretty rewarding in my opinion. What got us started? So my dad, he was a pretty avid waterfowler, and man, back then there wasn't many people doing it like there was today. So Dad took us on our first, it was like a first big water duck hunt. It was on a reservoir down in just outside of Bowling Green, Kentucky, where my dad was from. And I remember he had 3 duck boats hooked up together, a massive 400 decoys set that they would leave out and just rearrange. And I remember the morning we got there, as we were pulling the boats up and getting everything set, you could hear the ducks across on what they called it the wall, like a rock wall, and that's where a lot of them would roost. And you couldn't hardly talk or hear yourself think come out of the ducks. It was cold. It was like right after Christmas. We had broke ice getting out, so the ducks typically would leave the lake and then come back. Well, when stuff was froze, they just basically would get up, and all what areas were around had ice, so they automatically came back to the lake. There was more ducks than I'd ever seen in my life. I was 11, so 3 years younger than me. So, and that's what's crazy about a younger brother. They always get to do stuff earlier than what the older guy or the older brother gets to do. But so I was 11, he was 9 or 8, and I remember all those ducks, and it was the most phenomenal duck shoot we'd ever seen. And that like hooked us on big water hunting, like big sets, duck boats. Like it was just such an eye-opening experience. Where now, traveling, I've had the ability of hunt so many different situations, and I like them all. But there's something about a ton of decoys on a river system or a big reservoir that doesn't really hold them. You're just trafficking birds that come in. That's our bread and butter. I think that helps us in other situations because you're having to read how the bird reacts, especially like on this river. There's no reason for them to sit there. Like we're not like the Mississippi. There's no wing dams or stuff, sandbars that they get on. They're traveling looking for a spot to either rest, or a lot of times they just keep passing you because they're still going to travel. So understand, we learned to like read birds at a very early age and understand, from the calling aspect, how they reacted to either decoy them or blow them out. So it was a cool experience, and that big reservoir hunt is what got us hooked. And then the calling side, so trying to blow a duck, some people still struggle to this day. My dad, he can kill ducks, but if you heard him blow a call, you'd be like, man, he's terrible. He just knows when to blow it and when not to blow it. Well, Field is the type of person, he picked it up at an early age and was good, like really good. So I've always been blessed to have a great caller in the Sprint. Now, when you're young, you want to blow everything 100 miles an hour. But once we started understanding how to blow, how to work together, out here, man, nobody ever goose hunted when we grew up. We were literally the only people goose hunting. And now there's everybody goose hunt. So
right.
But having, that calling aspect is what drew us to the waterfowl side of it. Watching those birds react, and that's why we love turkey hunting so much.
Yep.
That's why, like me on deer hunting, I would rather hunt the rut when I can grunt to them or rattle at them, because outside of that, man, I'm just hoping I'm in the right spot. Like it's not me. Like I want to hunt something that will respond to what I'm doing to it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Completely agree.
Has driven us to working for call companies and now owning a call company. We love that calling aspect, as other people that want to buy duck and goose calls that have that same reaction. They love that calling aspect.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something about it, like you said, whether it's a turkey, whether it's a flock of ducks, whether it's a geese, a bull elk. I mean, whatever, a whitetail buck that you rattle in. There's something about fooling that animal by sounding like them.
Yeah,
man, I'm with you. It's almost like, oh, we're gonna go jump shoot some ponds. I'm like,
See, now if you're a shooter, that's perfect.
Right.
A guy would rather probably shoot something. I want to shoot them close. I don't claim to be a good shot, but for a guy that, man, I bet I could kill that duck at 50 yards. That's not for me. I want to call him in. But there's different styles. There's people that would rather go and pass shoot stuff.
Right.
I'm knocking it because that's your deal. You're a shooter. Like, I understand. Me, I'm a caller. Like, I want to get them as close as I can, and then hopefully try to shoot them.
And I think that's what's great about hunting in general, but especially waterfowl hunting, is there's so many ways that you can do it and be successful.
Correct.
There's days out here when you might as well just leave your calls in the bag, because no matter what you do, you're not going to break those birds. A lot of stuff, we're hunting rivers like you are. Obviously, we're not hunting a big river like you are, but smaller rivers. And those birds want to trade up and down that river all day long. And if they're just flying along looking for buddies, then you can suck them right into a big, I've in my experience out here, a big spread works better than a small spread. Just they see ducks and they're like buddies and they dump in. You can call to them a little bit. But there's other ones, man, it's like you can read their body language. They're lined out, head out straight, and they're just on a mission. You're like, don't even waste your breath on that bird because he is gone.
100%.
You know,
I know that look often.
but a lot of times when they're doing that too, they'll be low enough, you know, and the rivers are small enough where if the guy wants to shoot that bird, he can still kill that bird because it's in range when it goes over your decoys, but he's not going to stop. He's just gonna fly past you. We get a lot of that, and if I had my druthers, I'm with you. I want a feet down, beat down, man. I want them backpedaling in the decoys.
Yep.
But that's not always the way it works.
No, you're 100% right.
You know, and you're hunting, if you're hunting public land or you're hunting even small pieces of private land that are got lots of pressure all the way around them, kind of in the situation we're in out here, you kind of take what you get.
Sure.
You know, and then you get those handful of hunts throughout the season that are just perfect. You know, whether you're hunting a dry land set for ducks or you've got just an absolute melt for geese lined up, you know, where everything works beautiful, but the rest of it's kind of just grinding out and taking what you can get, you know.
100%, man, I get it. And that's what, you know, me and my brother, we like hunting public just because, well, it's what we were raised on, so it's kind of home for us. So anytime that we get to go to a private spot that's really good, like we don't really take it for granted. We're like, I like the easy one. I love having an easy hunt. But if I had to go anywhere on a daily basis, I go out here and fight this river because it's one reason it's home. I love hunting home. It's probably the worst hunting I've ever been, but it's home. But when you do smack them, man, the reward or the feeling is so much more than going out to a spot. And I'm not knocking people that have it, but when you're seeing 25,000, 30,000 ducks using this area, your odds are like, man, it's probably going to be pretty good. Where on public, there's so many people that hunt public, I feel like just the reward is like, man, we got them today. Now we may get our tails kicked tomorrow, but man, we got them today.
Yep.
Great.
And you're on the Illinois River, right?
Ohio.
The Ohio River. Okay.
Ohio River.
Yeah, there's so many big rivers back in your neck of the woods that I can't keep which one you guys are on straight sometimes, but
there's quite a few.
Yeah, they all have birds. They all have different types of hunting on them, but
they do.
You know, where my brother is in northwest Iowa, he's right next to the Mississippi.
Oh, nice.
And so he's got some pretty good duck hunting there. Now he's ate up with the whitetail bug, so he doesn't duck hunt like he used to back in the old days. But
well, even in I can see why in Iowa, man, they got some giants.
No, he's killed some big deer. Yeah, he's killed some big deer. But I keep giving him a hard time. I'd be like, dude, as soon as that rut was over, I'd be in a boat on the Mississippi. I mean, man, he's got, I think it's Pool. I can't remember what pool it is, but it's the largest wintering population of canvasbacks in North America right there.
Oh.
Just down from La Crosse, Wisconsin.
I know. Yeah. What pool is that? I know where you're at. Yeah, they stack them up in there. I think
big time.
I want to say Travis, Field's brother-in-law, Travis Mueller. I think he's talked about hunting up that pool up that way. Just canvasbacks were just, you could walk across them.
I know it. Just a dream, you know, just a dream for a Great Lakes boy like me. That the only time I ever saw a canvasback was after the season was closed. It seemed like, you know. Oh man, it was like we had that was the weirdest thing up there in Michigan. We had a protracted season on cans and on pintails, and you just didn't see hardly any of them anyway.
Sure.
But it was like, I remember sitting on this. We had big natural lakes up there, kind of Canadian Shield type stuff where I grew up, way up north. And the diver hunting in November could be pretty spectacular. You get out on a big rocky point, you run a line of decoys off, and then maybe put some puddle ducks next to the rocks or something, you know. You kill all kinds of different stuff, but I'm watching these half dozen birds come in low to the water, and they look like F-16s, you know, just zoom. And I'm looking at these things, and they're coming out of kind of a snowstorm.
Yeah.
And they're coming in, and I'm thinking, I think those are big mergansers. And they landed right in the decoys, and they were all big bull canvasbacks.
Oh, my
Like
goodness.
6 of them. There might have been like one hen in there.
Yeah.
And season was closed. I couldn't shoot cans. And I'm going, to this day, I think that's the only canvasback I've had in range. You know what I mean?
No kidding. I'll be honest.
Crazy. But
We get a small window where they come through here, and it's normally like the middle of January, somewhere between like second and third week. It's a small window where it may be 3 days, it may be 7 days where you get them, but it's a small window. So we try to take advantage of them if we can.
right. It's different how different flyways, even migration patterns within different flyways are staggered. You know, it seems like out here early we get what's left of the teal.
Yep.
We usually get some shovelers thrown in there. You know, I'm sure we've shot some cinnamon teal. They're just not full. They're just not plumed out yet. You know,
that'd be awesome.
But because you see them in the spring when they reverse migrate, you see all kinds of cinnamon teal around.
Gotcha.
And it's like we've got to have them in that first part of the fall. They just don't have that. Just don't have that color. You know, and but it's like so November. I started hunting really hard in November. We still have a pretty good population around of some of those early birds. We get some gadwalls out here, man, that by that time of year, those Drake gaddies are like prime. They are so beautiful.
They are. They're pretty ducks.
But they're only here for a couple weeks and then they're gone.
Yeah.
By Christmas, they're long gone.
Really?
And yep, and then they will have been replaced with the big push mallards usually.
Gotcha.
And our mallards will stay, you know, pretty much all year. But then when it gets real cold down into those single digits and below zero, that's when all the golden eyes show up.
Nice.
And if you want to shoot a con, of course they're everywhere, you know. And I joke, I'm like, don't shoot those things, you know what I mean? They're everywhere. But the one everybody's always looking for is that Barrows, you know. And I tell you what, unless you really know what you're looking at to be able to pick them out on the fly because they're coming through, it's tricky.
Yeah,
it's tricky. You know, you're looking for that crescent instead of that dot on their cheek patch, you know.
Correct. Yep.
But what do you guys experience as far as like that goes? Like I said, we get those mallards, and that's kind of the bread and butter. Like that late season, like you experience in Nebraska. Yep. And there's on bigger systems, you'll get widgeon thrown in the mix. They'll stay all winter.
Yeah.
And some divers, and every now and then somebody a couple years ago, a friend of mine killed a canvasback, big bull can, late. Seems like somebody shoots a wood duck every year, so way late, which we don't have hardly any wood ducks out here anyway. So that anytime anybody gets one of those, it's a treat.
That's probably a prize, yeah. So man, out here, so where we're at down here in Kentucky and being on this river, it's all weather based. So to say consistently, so primarily shoot mallards, and up until last year, mallards and black ducks is what we typically shoot. Now, early, like the first opening weekend, there may be some widgeon in there. There could be maybe some teal, maybe a few wood ducks. We typically have a decent amount of wood ducks around here, but it's mainly mallards. So depending on what it is up north and where we're at, we're kind of out of the Mississippi flyway. We're in it, if you were to look on a map, but we're not in it. So we get some of our best hunts is like if Maryland or Pennsylvania gets like a freak snowstorm and it pushes out stuff that way, somehow they get pushed our direction and they hit this river, and then we've shot old squall out here, which is wild. They've killed Bran out here. We've shot Ross geese out here. But if it gets super cold, typically our January is when we rely on seeing like a good amount of divers. We've had days where we've shot redheads, canvasbacks, bluebills, ringnecks, and not even shot a mallard. And literally the next day, shoot all mallards and not see a diver. It's just you never know what you're going to see, and that's why you almost have to get up and go every day, because there's days that you can see 500. There's days you don't see a duck. And what's crazy about it, it's like kind of the pool system of the Mississippi River. You don't know where those ducks are at on this river.
Right.
If they were 3 miles up or 3 miles down, I may not even know they're here. But if I'm out there every day and they're passing through, the day I'm there, lights out, man. So it's hard for us to just get on this river and run and scout because they don't sit on the river. You're looking for areas off the river like power plants or big. So there's a few places down here that have like big bottoms that flood, typically or roost birds. But you got to rely on, did they put water in it that year, or has the river been up and has it already got water in it? So there's a lot that goes hand in hand. So it kind of sounds lazy, and it's not. It is and it isn't. To say if my buddy shot them 3 miles upriver, if I was to go up there the next day, they're gone. They're either on me or past. So to chase them, you're always kind of behind them. Where here, there's certain areas like there's a mile up here, we got a big power plant. If I know there's ducks and geese going in there, I may ease closer to that. If we've hunted them and banged on them a couple of days, instead of going back up there, we're going to move farther down because them ducks may travel 3 or 4 miles, and now they're in a new area. They act like new ducks again, when really they've only left there, but they're looking for a new spot. So you kind of beat them up, the same birds, but in different spots of the river. And then when they're tired of getting beat up, then they'll travel next big power plants down below Louisville, which where we sit, we're like 18 miles from Louisville, where I'm at right now. So they may travel 18 miles and find a new roost and new home. And we're banking on that trickle system of, hey, let's have all these power plants keep loading up, or these big reservoirs, let them keep loading up. And because there's not really much ag here, and that's why we don't really hold a lot of birds. It may take them 2 or 3 days. We're like, man, there's not enough food here.
Right.
Let's keep moving. And that's what we bank on. Like we always joke, if we could pick the great days, we would. But you got to go out there because it's the days that you would think are the worst. Cloudy, no wind. You may shoot 30 or 40. The days where north winds, bright, crystal clear, good migration days, man, you may not see it. Like you can't pick it. It's so hard and it's so frustrating, but again, it's so fun.
Yeah, it's just waterfowl, it's we've got quite a bit of ag here. Honestly, that's why we have birds. Because we've got rivers that don't freeze. Excuse me. We have rivers that don't freeze and stay open pretty much year round. And then we've got ag, which is pretty rare for the West. You have agricultural zones where then it's surrounded by nothing. Excuse me. But it's interesting. It's the same way. I remember we had a hunt last year. I took out a couple of guys that are local that do a lot of work with a lot of youth. They do like a mentorship type deal. I got to take a drink. Excuse me. And I'll never forget, we had a young intern here in the office who's now full-time. And he said, hey, you want me to film? You want me to go and film for you in the morning? I said, you know what? No, I don't think so. That, the birds are stale. I said, I'm just taking these guys out to kind of get to know them more than anything. I don't think it's going to be anything special. Yeah, we shot 15 Drake mallards in like 10 minutes that morning. It was ridiculous. Got back to the office and I was back here by like 9 o'clock in the morning, and they're going, well, was that bad? And I was like, no, we were done that fast. I mean, it was insane. And of course, kicking myself, no camera, it's like, yeah, great. Good job. But yeah, whatever. It just goes what you were saying. You can't predict it. You just got to go.
Yeah, you have to go. And that's what I love about it. I can wake up. It's like, to me, it's like opening day every day, because I wake up here every day not knowing what's going to come down this river. And that's what I love about hunting here. It's not like I can sit out back in my backyard and watch all these mallards. Oh man, all right, there's 10,000 here, or there's a couple thousand. I do not know what's coming down. I don't know if it's going to be puddle ducks, diver ducks, big flights of honkers. It's literally an opening day every day here.
That's cool.
That's what I love about it.
Yeah, that's neat. We get into some stale times here, just with our weather. A lot of times we'll get a big storm in January and in November. We'll push a bunch of birds in, and then the weather will get nice again. It'll be cold, but then it'll get nice, and the birds just don't do much sometimes. We had probably 15,000 mallards here locally at the end of the season last year, and it was bright sunshine and in the 40s every day.
Yeah,
and they're feeding all night long in a cornfield. So you kind of gotta have some spots lined out on the river where they're coming back to, because they're going to drop in at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. They're going to feed all night, and then they're going to come back to the river and loaf. And man, if you're in one of their day roost spots, it can be phenomenal. But if you're not, it's tough. They don't fly around during the day because it's too warm.
That's what happens. That's what happens here. So the best hunt when the river's good is when everything around here is froze, like all the ponds. So where me and Field are from, it's big horse country out here. Like we can go up the road, and as you start driving to Louisville, it's horse farm after horse farm after horse farm. Well, all them horse farms have nice ponds with aerators and just beautiful short grass. Well, that's a goose's that's the greatest place for a goose, and a lot of duck stock in there. So just like what you said, we could have a hard freeze and it pushes stuff to the river. We get any type of thaw. A lot of people think, oh, they left. They didn't leave. They just spread out. They left the river and they went to that new water, or they're sitting on all them ponds. And it takes more cold weather to shove them back. When you got the only open waters there, they got to go. So that's what, if we have like mild winter, our hunting is not good here at all. It's really spotty.
Yep, it's the same for us. We did a hunt with Jim Sobier from Sitka last year, and that was how I actually got your name. He gave me some people to get a hold of for the podcast, and you were one of them. But it was
great guy, man.
Oh, yeah, I love Jim. So much fun to be around and to hunt with, and we had 2 awesome days, and
good.
But it was one of those deals where it was kind of like, I don't know, come down, and we had to plan it. One of those deals where we had to make a plan or it wasn't going to happen.
Right.
And fortunately, we were able to find a field that had a bunch of honkers in it, and it was like the day before, it was nice weather, and the day of the hunt, it was crap. It was ideal. And we got birds migrating. We were trafficking birds. We had birds that wanted to be, we were on the X for some. It was
awesome.
Man. It was awesome. It's an awesome hunt, and it was a fun video to shoot. And then the next day I called down, and one of the guys down here was like, dude, I don't know what's going on, but a bunch of birds showed up today. And I was like, well, yeah, because we were on the other end of that watching them leave,
Right.
And so the next day we hunted one of the river spots that I have here, did a water set, and it was, the river's pushing slush, and it was ugly, but man, the birds were there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we had a good time with him, and it made for a great hunt, and fun relationship building time, and got a good YouTube video out of it. So it was cool. It was cool, but one of those deals that you just don't know, It's
it goes back to what we said. You got to go, man.
Yep. You just got to go hunt. You just got to go hunt.
You got to get out there and try.
No, you're exactly right. It's like I'm looking at what we've got here right now, and coming up for the opener, and I'm looking at it going, there's really not much around, but probably going to go out anyway, because you never know,
You're right.
You just don't know. You might get a bunch of late teal that decided to hang out somewhere north of us, and I guess it's time to go. Oh, goodness.
That's great, man.
So what do you guys got in the works? Without spilling any beans or anything like that, what do you guys got in the works at Field Proven? What's coming up?
So we released a new goose call last year, and so we're weird. We kind of release stuff as I say we're weird. We try to use our products before, like we try to tweak them and get them where we like them and where we think our customer would like them. So we don't make a call just to add a call. we try to fill a void in our call lineup, like something that we think we need instead of just, man, let's just come out with a different call. We don't want to do that. Like, it's hard to reinvent the wheel. So we're trying to fill a void that our lineup doesn't have. We've got a call out. It's called the No Name. And really, it had no name. We had them ready. We hunted with them, had them ready. We took them to Harrisburg. And it was like unbelievable, the people that loved it. And it kind of turned into a joke, like, hey, man, throw us some names, this and that. So it's a short goose call, kind of like our Matrix, but it's got a very small end piece. So we're kind of known for having more like a flared end piece. And we like that, like when we worked at Zinc. It was just comfortable for our hand. Now, changing from when we worked at Zinc to when we started Field Proven, we shortened it down a little bit, or it wasn't as flared, but it was still pretty big. Because you get a lot of people say, man, it's just too big for my hand.
Right.
So if you're a grounds caller, grounds has really short end pieces. And guys that blow that all the time, they like that feel. So if you get something that's bigger, it feels like you're holding like a baseball in your hand. And I get it, because when we switched to the small end piece, it felt so different to me because I'm used to that flared end. But we hunted with it and made some tweaks, kept shortening the mouthpiece, and put the fully worn guts in that Fields won some world and international titles with. And just like, man, the sound quality that we had was phenomenal. So like I said, we released it at Harrisburg, and we couldn't make enough of them. Like, we took a decent amount, and by Wednesday we're sold out. We kept one. Somebody at the show had bought one. We're like, can we keep this? And we'll just let people blow it. And we were taking orders and say, hey, when we get back. So we went from Harrisburg straight to NWTF. We said, when we leave NWTF, we'll ship you your call. Man, the amount of stuff that we had to build was phenomenal. It was so awesome. So that's been our newest, the call with no name, and that's the dealers. If you're to search call with no name at dealers, that's what it's called. So we've got some duck calls in the works. Just trying to add something a little different. It seems like the real raspy calls, I feel like it's kind of a trend now. Like, there's a lot of guys that just want super raspy sounding calls, and we don't really have that in our lineup. We've got a little more just cleaner, smoother style calls. So we're trying to mess around with that. We get teased all the time. Hey, when are you gonna make a cut down? And we're not. Like, we don't know cut down calls. We don't want
Right.
calls to have it, So we kind of get teased about that. But like I said, we don't want to make something that we don't have any knowledge of. It's like we get beat up about spec calls. Indian Field haven't just targeted specs in probably 15 years. Like, we don't want to make a call that we want to be able to use it and make it the best that it can be in our eyes. So we haven't made a spec call just because we don't really hunt them. We've got nowhere to really go target them to make sure, do the R&D of like, man, is this really what we want to release? When there's a lot of great spec calls out there, are we kind of handicapping ourselves? Or, yeah, I mean, I'm sure we could make some and sell them, but in the back of our minds, we can't sell something to somebody that we really haven't tested or believe in or think is the best. And we're not going to do that to our customers. Like, we want every call that we use. And so what's cool, Field tunes all the goose calls. I tune all the duck calls. We tune them calls if they were going on our lanyard. That's why we offer a lifetime warranty. If you're not happy with it, send it back. We're going to find a way to make you happy with that call. And that's kind of been, what Field Proof is known for, is the customer service and the lifetime warranty. And everything's American made.
That's awesome. No, that's awesome. I know that I really respect you guys for that, because I think what you said, a lot of people, whether it's call companies or whatever, they see a spot in the market and they want to be involved in it.
Right.
Whether or not they have the expertise to be, or the experience, or whatever you want to call it, to be, I guess, to be experts at that, or to give a good representation of that. So I really respect that. It would be the same way if I was in your shoes, or similar, trying to talk about, hunting big water diver setups.
Right.
But I haven't done that since I left the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and we just dabbled in it then.
Yeah.
So I'm not like these guys that hunt these big rivers or these big reservoirs, and they're hunting layout boats, or they're hunting, the Salt Lake down here in Utah, and they're experts at it.
Sure.
You want to talk to somebody about that? Talk to them, not me. You want to talk about
so we make turkey calls too, but that'd be like me trying to send you, hey man, I got some diaphragms I bet you could elk hunt with. I've never elk hunted. But guys say, man, they're just turkey calls. Okay, but there's got to be attention. Like,
yeah, they are and they aren't. There's differences.
That's like me. Could we make elk calls and sell them as elk calls? Maybe, but then again, we know nothing about it. Like, we don't want to do that. That'd be me, like I said, trying to send you, hey, try these out for elk hunting. Like, man, these are turkey calls. But you may get the average Joe that doesn't know any better, and that's money in our pocket. We're not those people. Like, we want to make stuff that we know, we believe in, and we know you're going to be happy with.
Yeah, I respect that. I do. I think that's really cool. I do. So I got to ask you, we're sitting in about an hour, and you and I could keep going, but I know we both got stuff we got to do. But I got to ask you this question. I ask everybody that's been on the podcast this. If you could only hunt one bird one way, what's it going to be?
If I could only hunt one bird one way, it would be the Drake mallard on this big river system. That would be, if that's all I had, that's what I would do. I
kind of figured that's what you were going to say, just judging by what you said earlier.
Yeah, that would be it for me.
Yeah, it's funny. Everybody's got their differences, got different ideas on what they like, and I talked to some guys from Arkansas and from Louisiana and different places, and they're talking mallards and timber, mallards and flooded timber.
Sure.
And they'll go so far as to talk about exactly what flooded timber is, which I think is cool. Other guys, it's like, give me a field hunt, whether give me corn, mallards in the corn, or geese in the corn, or whatever. But I had a feeling that's what you're going to say. I appreciate that. I really do.
Yeah, there's just something about being out there, man. I love it.
Yeah, you know what you like.
Like, timber hunting is phenomenal. Dry field hunting, there's big bunches of ducks, and I've been a part of all of it and love it. But like you said, the question was if it was the last bird and place I could go, man, it would definitely be right out here at home.
Yep, you're a man that knows what he likes. I admire that.
Buddy. Yeah, buddy.
No, that's cool. Well, if you guys get out this way this year, give me a holler, man. We'd love to go sit in the blind with you, hang out, and maybe we can talk Jim Sobir into jumping in. That'd be kind of fun.
I'll say something to Phil. We'll try that because we're typically out that way, so we'll see what we do. Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, it's hunting. You never know until you go.
That's right, buddy.
All right. Clay, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time, man.
Man, I appreciate you having me. It's been a pleasure, and I enjoyed it. I really did.